Hey, my name's Max Hardy, and I just finished making some wooden peanut butter cups. I think they turned out great. It was a blast to make them. I made four of them, but I only filmed two. The only difference between them is these have slightly different bite marks, but the process is the same for all of them. They're full of great detail. I think they have cool curved, teeth marks in them. They have a nice tapered edge with ridges carved into them. And then you can kind of see here that center part is like recessed a little bit, and then this ridge is raised up along the edge. So it looks really like a real peanut butter cup. I think they turned out amazing. These two little things were just a ridiculous amount of work, but it was a blast. I had a great time making them. I got to try new things, and I really had fun. So I filmed it all in time lapse, so I hope that you'll watch it, see how I did it. To get started, I just ripped this piece of walnut. I'm gonna cut it to the rough dimensions of the peanut butter cup, which that's the size that's up against the fence. I split them apart, and I have to clean up that little ridge. I like to split them this way because I'm working with a small piece of wood. I don't want the thing to fall down inside the saw or anything. So I rip it one more time. That gives me enough for 4 peanut butter cups and then some plates. Here I've got the main part that'll be the peanut butter cup glued face down, and I'm just using my big hole saw bit to mark the overall dimensions of the peanut butter cup. And then the smaller one here is where the peanut butter is going to go. So the depth of that really matters. These hole saws are meant to have a drill bit in the center of them to help stabilize them, so that's why I glued them and clamped them real good. Here I'm squaring up a piece of basswood, and this is going to be the peanut butter. So I cut it to size corresponding with that hole I drilled a moment ago. And then same thing, I hot glue it to a board and clamp it down real good. These things chatter all over the place, and they really want to throw that wood, so it's important to clamp it down, not hurt myself. So here I'm just removing where the peanut butter is going to go, and I just do it with my chisel here, and I try to get it down to where it's about 1/8 of an inch thick, and then I'll lay the peanut butter in there, and then I'll be able to cover that with a plate. But I can't go too thin because eventually I'm going to have to sand from the top, and if I go too thin, then I'll pierce through and I'll ruin it at the end after I've done all this work. So I don't want to do that. But this part is the most time-consuming part of it all, probably, but it's very enjoyable. I really like using the chisels like this. It's very satisfying. But here I'm just cleaning up the peanut butter parts, trying to thin them down a little bit. And I kind of go back and forth in between working the peanut butter and then working the chocolate part here, I guess, the walnut part. But again, I've got to be real careful to not go too deep. Once at this point, I feel like I've already got a bunch of time into it. And the last thing I want to do is get careless and break through the top. That'd be no good. But it's got to sit in there where that plate can still cover it too. Here they are, just laid in there. And then this is the thin piece, and this will be the plate that's going to cover it. It's real thin. This was really hard to release from there without breaking it. And then here I am just gluing them all together. I tried to match the grains up a little bit, but I could have done a better job, I think, with that. But here they are, dried up. I hit them with the sander to make them nice and flush. And then here you can see I've got the drill bit inside there to help stabilize it, and I'm actually drilling out the actual bite marks. So once I get that done, I put the big hole saw back on, and I actually cut out the rest of the way through from that initial size that I made. This is the hot glue on the top of those pieces that was holding it in place, so I just got to remove that with my chisel real quick. And then here I made this little thing specifically for this. I just cut a piece of wood and then put a screw up through it and glued some sandpaper to it. And this will allow me to sand the top. So I hold it up underneath there, and then so I can remove the center material and then leave that ridge like peanut butter cups have. I use my other sander attachment to create the bevel on the side of that. Kind of go back and forth in between the two. Pretty effective process, looks good. I like it pretty well. And then here I've got my rounded gouge, and I'm cutting out the bite marks for these things, or the teeth marks, I guess. So I use pretty much all downward force, and since I have really like a thin piece of walnut and then the basswood and then another thin piece of walnut on the bottom, um, it's it can be kind of tricky. Like those woods, just have different densities and stuff, I guess. So sometimes the chisel doesn't want to go through quite right, but I use mostly just all downward force, and I put my weight on it to kind of push it down through there. And I use a dowel rod with some sandpaper in it to round over the little teeth marks. I want it to look authentic, and I feel like anytime I bite into a peanut butter thing, when I look at it, like the top part of the chocolate is a little bit sort of rounded from your teeth. I don't know. But here I've got a V-shaped chisel, and I'm making those ridges that go around the peanut butter cups. I, I assume that those are created by like pouring the chocolate into those little paper things that they come in. I don't know, but it's a cool detail. I have to be really careful. I can't quite get all the way through the top here without blowing out that real thin ridge that I did on the sander. So I go really, really slowly, and then I take my knife up here and I try to cut little V's in the top part of that ridge. But I think it's a really nice detail, and it's funny. I blew out a couple little places where the wood just kind of chipped away a little too much, and I actually really like the way it looks. It almost looks like a real peanut butter cup, like where they get real thin up along that edge, and they kind of look like they tear a little bit or something. I don't know. I was really happy accident, as Bob Ross would say, I guess. And then once I sand it all up here, it's ready for the polyurethane. It's about to really make it come to life. It looks beautiful. So this is semi-gloss oil-based polyurethane. Really looks great. I think that walnut really looks super chocolatey, and basswood looks like peanut butter. I think it was a very effective little project. I tell you what, though, man, there's a lot of time that went into these little teeny tiny things. I love them, though. They're beautiful.
Well, here they are, all cured up. I think they turned out great. I couldn't be happier with them. This was a super fun project. I got to try some new stuff. I had to be creative and do some problem solving to work out how to make these things happen. It was a good time and a ton of work. I really enjoyed it. Well, I think the walnut looks super chocolatey and the basswood looks great for peanut butter. It's got great details. Good times. I appreciate y'all watching. I hope you keep a lookout for future videos.